Here at One2Gration today, we tell stories that remind us why community matters. Today's guest is someone who shows us that building your purpose isn't easy, but it's definitely worth it.
I am Jeff McKinney, and this is an episode of One2Gration today. One2Gration today is intended for us to be able to showcase business owners, entrepreneurs, people in our community that are moving on purpose. And I am joined today by another one of our One2Gration hosts. Cameron, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Cameron McKinney. I am Jeff McKinney's spouse, but I'm also the co host of Hey Girl, a One2Gration podcast by women for everyone.
Fantastic. And so, in this particular episode today, we want to bring to our community and highlight Terrance Wright. And so, I want to bring Terrance Wright on and allow for him to give an introduction for himself, and from there to be able to I want to be able to share after Terrance kind of what he's meant to integration and how we've gotten to this point where we're able to look back and see the great way that we've supported one another. Terrance.
Thank you. Hello, Cameron. My name, like I say, Terrance Wright. I'm founder and CEO of the Agape Group, of nonprofit 501c corporation that impacts and empowers community along with assisting the lives of families to break the cycles of poverty. I'm a retired Parks and Rec employee for over 20 plus years, still active, officiate youth sports, a substitute from time to time in the McKinney ISD, and just overall community activist. You know, I met Jeff probably 2021 or 22, 2021. And it was a phone call that ultimately, like say, successfully changed my life. You know, he was so positive and he could see the big picture when I didn't see it. I always talk about that. But it was at a time when I needed some legal assistance, and he came through with, like, I almost hate to say it like a knight in shining armor, but that's what it was, because I didn't see the end of the road, but Jeff did for me. And he got me going and got me back on track, not only on the legal side of things, but focusing on this was your path all along, Terrance. It just, God just steered you in a different way to get more active back in your community and back and impacting lives like you could do.
So for those of you who are not aware, my wife is also here. She just mentioned it just a moment ago, and she's sending me a message and saying that I'm lagging. And so she is, of course, as my wife, my most sharpest critic. And so hopefully, Terrance, I'm not lagging too bad. But I heard every word that you said, and I would like to kind of pause there for a moment. When Terrance came to Integration back, I believe it was January, February, or something like that of 2021. It was at a time when I was at my lowest, and he came with a story that was almost identical to my own and what I was experiencing. And I knew in that moment that, oh, well, God is sending me someone to help guide through this, because I've actually been through this before as well. Even though it feels dark, I'm prepared for this. And so in working with Terrance and listening to, kind of what the work that he had already done, he has already shown such great resilience. He says that he didn't have anything. No, he had everything. It was already there. It was just going to take some time and effort and some guidance to be able to get there. And ultimately, 4.5 years, 4.5 years after the of us meeting, we've done community events. We continue to think about the ways that we will impact humanity going forward. And we look back at that time, and we can plan about, okay, so how will we leverage that story to impact others rather than telling the story of us being victims. So kudos to you. Kudos to you, Terrance.
Thank you.
And Terrance, it sounds like you're really big on community. Oh, I'm sorry. It sounds like you're really big on community and finding your purpose and helping others. Like, what's the heartbeat behind your story? Like, what makes you keep going even on the days where you're like, I've had enough. Like, this is too tough for me to just keep pursuing this passion of mine.
I think it's, a huge passion that probably is family rooted. My mom was heavily involved in community activities, whether it was at the church or in our youth sports group growing up, working the concession stand, or always being on various boards. So that idea of giving back and helping the community, I think, was embedded from home. But when having that job I had working in the Douglas community as a youth at risk coordinator and various jobs through college, it always insists and impacted and assisted others. And I just think that I just stayed with it. And I always heard so many stories and memories from, the adolescents now that are young adults. Like, I remember we used to do this. I enjoyed the memories of what we did. We need that back. I need that. I want that for our kids. And they started encouraging me to come back out and help them assist us. I would, just give them the blueprint and, tell them what to do. And it became, you just can't tell us what to do. We need you involved. And that's where the involvement came. I had the free opportunity to start doing it and working with them. And, it took off from there.
For me, I think about, why we started to envision One2Gration in this format to be able to serve in this way. Terrance, can you touch a bit about the challenges that, you faced as you had this vision, but trying to move it forward? What was that like?
I think it's always, I consider myself low key. So I never mind collaborating with others and, working and assisting them, let them, take the lead and complete the mission, so to say, and just be, a team player. But, I think one of the things I've learned is sometimes, others not going to follow your vision, or they're not going to, complete the goal in a timely manner or an effective manner. And it just comes out as just blah. And you have a high vision of success and what success should look like. So that's why I created the Agape group, to have my own lane, my own mission, that I can still collaborate, but I can do what I wanted to do. And a lot of those struggles early on were just first, with collaborations. Then it became, well, you're trying to outdo us. It's like, no, that's not the case. We're working together. We got the same goal still. We're just going to do it. I'm going to have the lead on my own deal, but we're still going to work together. And that's probably one of the biggest goals right now is, looking at it from a standpoint of, are you trying to outdo me, or, are you trying to outshine me? It's like, no, we're on the same team. We got the same vision and end goal in mind. We just got to work to get it together.
Fantastic. It looks like we may have lost Cameron, and so we'll figure out if she can click the link and jump back in. For me, when I think about the kind of the problem statement that you just kind of offered the audience. You talked about kind of the challenges around collaboration, and then also the need for collaboration to be able to move your vision forward, because as a community there is no I. And so as we think about the opportunity for One2Gration to support entrepreneurs and nonprofit leaders, you, Terrance, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm good. You go ahead. You're not lagging on my end at all, Jeff.
Yeah. So to you and everyone else that's watching this, I'm also getting text messages from my wife who's telling me she can't hear me. So I just want to make sure that you guys.
We're fine.
Yeah. So you have been a great example of what it looks like to enable someone who's already moving in purpose. And so that's the biggest vision, outside of the legal stuff, like when you came and we had to make sure that you had the right support from a mental health standpoint, the legal standpoint, and then the guidance around the HR advocacy, putting those pieces together, but then shifting to go say, okay, well, what about purpose? and then to hear your story, it was already kind of put together. To see your work now, tell us a bit about what you've been up to lately.
Really heavily active with, pushing the Agape group forward and just trying to make it the ultimate nonprofit that it can be. We've had successful within that Douglas community, a successful Juneteenth program that was, a 3-day event that, highlighted various aspects of the community, from the religious side to the, religious and spiritual side, to the focusing on the youth with some youth basketball opportunities, to the community side with, vendors, food trucks, entrepreneurs, live community event, at the Douglas that, lasted for 6 hours. We also, came back with a huge back to school rally where we did over 450 plus backpacks, given away to local youth in Plano and the surrounding area of Collin County. Next, we're trying to work on getting established some things for 2026, setting that calendar that everything falls in line. Enjoy doing this streaming activity, trying to get involved with some other interviews and podcast stuff that we're working on, highlighting local urban authors with a series like this to, highlight their books and their topics and things like that, to give them a format, working with, try to ultimately work with the 2 Black bookstores, one in Fort Worth Docks and then the one in Dallas as well, that, highlight these authors, because it's a huge, I find out it's a huge community and everybody has a story to tell, and they are telling it in these new days and times, that it's just not a storyteller of a fiction. They're telling their true stories, and people, there's a huge interest in that. We did for Black History Month, we did an urban author fair, and we had 10 authors. We're trying to come back with it for this year, and we want to get up to about 30 plus authors to highlight those. And I think these interviews highlighting their upcoming book, their books, or their previous books or upcoming books will help, enhance that and tell their stories as well, and put them in a community that they can, reach others.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. If you think back over the years, I think the first time we were in front of a camera together was, out at one of your community events. The second time we were in the office shooting some stuff around, kind of the services that we provided and the results through our kind of responsible wellness side. And then I think the next time was probably year 2 or 3 out at the Douglas. And the media creation has always been a part of the vision. Talk about, what it's been like for you to be a part of those One2Gration media productions, as opposed to when you're not captured and you don't have the content, and there's not a seamless process in place like we have today.
With the way society is now, media is plays a huge role in, replaying what you just saw, and also highlighting the great efforts that you put forward. So still working, on my end with a lot of those production aspects, but, I know One2Gration is definitely trying to move forward in that role and assisting me, but not only assisting others for that role, but, media is huge, and, the recapturing everything. It's the most expensive part in the event that we're kind of learning, but it can be successful. When we did the mental health workshop a couple years ago, I mean, that was a big aspect. We also did the community impact, where we focus on various leaders in the community that we pulled together a panel discussion with those people. And it's important to get those conversations in a community format, but also to recapture them and replay it for others that couldn't attend it, or also that can go back and review and say, hey, I need to get in touch with those people, because they're focusing on the things that I need to do, and they have a great product to offer.
Yeah, it's really promising, because as much as we've worked together, there's certain areas, and I would tell you, when you would say, hey Jeff, what have you been up to? And I'm like, yeah, I got this whole other part of One2Gration that I'm working on right now. And so now we're kind of exploring that together and we're demonstrating it. And for me, when I hear you talk about the cost of media, how important it is, and then also how you see what One2Gration is doing is different from what the Agape group is doing. I see an opportunity to make them parallel. And so by making them parallel, we then leverage the power of one another. So for example, the way that we see it as you as a community catalyst with One2Gration, you come to us and you tell us the schedule in which you want to host the people of your community. And from there, we write those narratives and we provide that infrastructure for you to be able to do those things seamlessly. And so, for example, if we were to backtrack today, you gave me a call around 10 o'clock, 10:05. We did a kind of check and we went through some things. Now we're going forward. We had a little bit of a complication from a technicality standpoint, but we still move forward. We will have this live demonstration of what we said to our community. And then in post production, we could actually bring Cameron back in. If we wanted to put the energy back into that, we could uh, we could actually take her out. So it never even looked like she's in. And so that will be something for you being the executive director of the Agape group. That wouldn't be your responsibility. That would be our responsibility to make the needed adjustments and then also to provide the follow-up content in a format that would allow for you to have an ongoing story around showing what you're invested in. And so we'll schedule a follow-up and you'll see kind of how and what comes out of this to know exactly the resources. But I agree. And I've put a large amount of my time and strategy into making sure that people like Terrance, the doers of the world, those who are actually doing with their actions and not with their words, those without large teams, those without a huge amount of influence, but those that the algorithm don't necessarily promote, but the communities need, will have access through One2Gration to make sure that they can actually make sure they tell their stories and cultivate communities, audiences, and conversations that will propel humanity forward. Uh, Terrance, uh, what haven't we discussed today? What do we need to make sure that we articulate to our community today?
Just to be active and involved. I think, just like, you wrapped it up so clearly. Like, you and I have been talking about this media space and media impact for a while. And, I'm not technical. You are Tech P, but I don't see it from time to time. And now I'm, being a part of it, and we'll see how the end result comes out of this today. That puts it in mind, because when when you asked me to come on and do the live stream, I said, okay, we're just going to talk, like we always do. And it's a conversation. So it's not, it's nothing uncommon for us. But when you were explaining, and I started looking at some of the stuff behind, I said, this is what I want to get to, that we kind of talked about with, not trying to pull 5 pieces together to do an author interview. We can do it on live stream because it's less time impactful, and it's easy to get together via computer than trying to get a space, get a camera guy, get your edits and all this done. It's all there, and I'm glad it's finally coming together for yourself and One2Gration, and definitely glad to be a part of it, because we're always intertwined, even though we may not communicate as much, but it's always right there. And I know we stay involved, we follow each other, and see what's going on. So that's always, when we're not connected, we're still connected.
Yeah, and also, what I would reiterate to you and anyone else that sees this, I'm only on the screen when I have to be. This platform is for everyone to tell their stories, and it doesn't require me to be a part of the story. Like, my goal is to be a guide and the of everyone being a hero in their own story. And so, Terrance, I've seen the way that people rally behind you. I've seen the way that all of the lives that you've touched have stood up alongside of you, even in the challenging times. Um, uh, in the inverse, you've seen the way that in the darkest of times, in my periods of isolation, um, I, I felt, and you responded to those things. You showed up. I remember at one point you came and picked me up while I was helping you me out and bought me a new pair of Nikes and a lunch. And put some life, spoke some life back into me, and that's what community is about. And so, we have an opportunity to demonstrate that, because we are to check the fruits of the spirit and not necessarily the words that people say. The words that people say don't necessarily line up with the fruits of their actions in all instances. And so, what I want to do more than anything is allow for those inside of our community to have access to people with purpose, and that are willing to show up for one another. I call it being a what a brother, what a sister. And so the reason why I call it that is because just calling yourself a brother or a sister is not enough anymore. We're moving into a time where it's about the actions and the way that we support one another. And so I want to thank you, Terrance, for joining. Tell everyone how they can keep up with you in the Agape group.
Just basically, I'm still, like I say, learning the social media space, getting it up and going. But typically, you can follow me on Instagram, T.Wright, and then also Terrance Wright on Facebook. But I post a lot of stuff, but I'm still trying to push that over to the official Agape group, Facebook and Instagram. So that all that's coming. We do have a website, the Agape Group TX.org, updating stuff, in the process of updating it to keep it going as well. And one more thing quickly, just kind of piggybacking on what you said, community is so important, and the circle may seem large, but it's very small. Jeff, those same people, we talk about impacting and showing up. We had so many connections, and we have those connections from Ray Schufer to Eddie Brown, and we follow each other, and they show up. And I saw both of them do something this week with the kids going back to school, showing up at the middle schools and the high schools, welcoming the incoming kids. And that's so much a sense of community that no one ever shows up to see Black men welcoming kids coming into school. And it's a small highlight that we see, but it makes a huge impact on those kids' lives to have alumni coming back from the middle school and high school settings in that Dallas area. And they're just huge community activists that, you got to get them guys back on the program or to the program and keep pushing their agendas. And that just highlights everything community that we got going on that people don't know about, but they see it and they poo-poo it or don't even, that's just common. No, it's not common, because common is very uncommon.
So
society.
So a few things. You talked about common. And it triggered, I was already thinking about this, but Common reshared this week a video that went viral of a Black man walking into a school and dapping up all of the other Black men that worked in that environment. And that's right along with what you're saying about Eddie Brown, Ray Schufer. Matter of fact, I will extend the invite, and they both know that they're welcome. But I think we should all jump on an episode of the podcast table and talk about what's going on with Jerry, what's going on with the Dallas Mavericks, what's up with the Houston Rockets. Like, it's time for us to show up for and with one another. And this is not a one-time thing. Like you said, Ray Shuford into the next shift. One2Gration is a long supporter of Ray and his work to push back and provide resources for first responders. It would take for Ray to come on and speak to the actual data points of how more at risk first responders are and how we need a concentration, because these are the people that we depend on to respond to us when we're in our most weakest positions. And so we'll have Ray Shuford on Eddie Brown, Constable Eddie Brown, the man of the streets. He's everywhere. Like you said, he out in the community, and also a great father, one who loves old muscle cars, and just really just all around great. He would definitely be, and it has been someone that would show up for us. And so 100% agree. It is now time to, as a community, to do the opposite of sitting. It's time for us to rise. And when we rise together, there's not a force that I believe that could change the outcome of what we collectively decide that we're going to move forward towards. And so I'd like to close by saying, everybody, seek and try to figure out what you're being called to do, which is also called a purpose. That's what you've been sent here. And so once we align with purpose, and purpose is not a job, by the way, it is something that you've been sent for. And that doesn't mean that you can't monetize your purpose. We're here to support you monetizing your purpose. That's what integration does. But when you take the job away and actually say, I'm going to focus on purpose, then you get access to a source that Terrance can validate this. There's not a day when he's looking for inspiration to go and do what he's been sent to do. Like that's not a problem. I see Terrance, and Terrance is always focused on his purpose, and it's a great example and a great model that we want to highlight here at One2Gration. So with that said, I'm going to go and figure out what technically happened and why we lost Cameron. And this is an episode of One2Gration today. For anyone else that's out there looking for a team and a resource and a community to stand behind you and your purpose, visit www.one2gration.com. You can click on the One2Gration media if you're interested in learning more about that, or you can click on our business services or business directory at the top of the tabs, and it'll show you how we take media and put other tools around them to support people like yourself and like Terrance. So with that said, thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.